It was Labor Day weekend, 1993, in Plano, Texas. Carpenter Park buzzed with life, families cheering, children laughing, and the warm hum of safety in the air. Among them was 7-year-old Ashley Estell, a bright, curious girl there to watch her brother's soccer game. At some point that afternoon, Ashley wandered toward the playground and vanished. One moment she was there, the next she was gone. Panic spread instantly. Parents searched frantically, police arrived, and helicopters scanned the park as night fell, but Ashley was nowhere to be found. But despite the massive search, Ashley was nowhere to be found. By the next morning, that small spark of hope turned to heartbreak. Just 6 miles away, on a dirt road in rural Collin County, a cyclist spotted something near a patch of weeds. It was Ashley's body. She had been strangled. The medical examiner confirmed she had fought back fiercely against her attacker. News spread across Texas like wildfire. Plano, once considered one of the safest cities in the state, was shaken to its core. Parents who once let their children play freely now gripped their hands tightly in public. The innocence of a community had been stolen. Police launched a full-scale investigation. They interviewed witnesses, combed the park again, and looked into every registered sex offender in the area. For nearly a week, they found nothing, until September 10th, when a pair of crime scene technicians near the site of Ashley's body noticed a car slowly circling the area. The driver seemed nervous, glancing out the window as if searching for something. Officers decided to run the plate. The car belonged to 23-year-old Michael Blair, a carpet cleaner living nearby. When they pulled him over, what they found inside sent alarm bells ringing. A missing person flyer for Ashley, a newspaper clipping about her murder, and a small stuffed bunny. Blair said he was simply curious about the case and had joined the volunteer search effort. He was polite, cooperative, even eager to help, but detectives weren't convinced. They brought him in for questioning. Over 10 long hours, Blair's demeanor shifted. He smiled through parts of the interrogation, seemed smug and detached. He lied about his past, bragged about wanting to punish whoever killed Ashley, and even claimed he'd written to President Bill Clinton demanding stronger laws against child predators. Then came the background check and the bombshell. In 1988, Blair had tried to assault an 11-year-old girl in Dallas. When she fought back, he fled, only to return a week later to try to kidnap her again. He was convicted of burglary and indecency with a child and sentenced to 10 years in prison. But he had served less than 18 months before being released on parole. To police, this was it. They'd found their man. A convicted child predator caught circling the murder scene, seemingly obsessed with the case. Still, they had no physical evidence linking him to Ashley. They had to let him go. But Blair wasn't free for long. Police tailed him day and night, waiting for him to slip up. When his boss kicked him out of his home, officers seized the opportunity. On September 14th, they arrested him at a motel and charged him with capital murder. Prosecutors offered him a deal: plead guilty, serve life in prison, and avoid the death penalty. Blair refused. He insisted he was innocent and would rather die than confess to something he didn't do. The problem was, the evidence was entirely circumstantial. No witnesses placed him with Ashley, no DNA tied him to the scene. The entire case hinged on hair and fiber analysis, science that, decades later, would prove to be unreliable. As Blair's trial approached, another firestorm brewed. How, people asked, had a man like him ever been allowed back on the streets? A deep dive into Texas parole records revealed a nightmare of bureaucratic failure. Blair's early release had been approved without anyone ever reviewing his full criminal record. Officials claimed they thought he was in prison for burglary, not for indecency with a child. The truth was worse. Texas prisons were overcrowded, and officials were cutting corners. Blair's parole file contained 34 separate errors. Even after he was released, new reports of inappropriate behavior with children surfaced. Yet parole officers failed to act. Public outrage grew. Texas lawmakers faced enormous pressure to explain how such a dangerous man had slipped through the cracks. Ashley's father, Dick Estell, became an advocate for reform. He demanded answers and accountability. State Senator Florence Shapiro took up his cause, calling for complete transparency. Under pressure, Texas Attorney General Dan Morales released the parole report, declaring that the people's right to know outweighed the state's embarrassment. The case had grown beyond Ashley and Michael Blair. It became a referendum on Texas's broken justice system. When the trial began, it was moved 300 miles west to Midland to avoid the publicity. Reporters called it the trial of the century. Prosecutors painted Blair as a cunning predator. Their star witness, a forensic analyst named Charles Lynch, testified that hair samples from Blair's car matched Ashley's, and that fibers from a stuffed rabbit in his car were microscopically similar to fibers on her clothing. The defense countered with an alibi. Blair, they said, had been working through the night cleaning carpets and was home asleep on the couch by the time Ashley vanished. His roommate and others backed up his story. They also presented forensic testimony suggesting Ashley's body appeared to have been kept somewhere overnight, meaning the timeline didn't match Blair's movements. The defense pointed to another potential suspect, a soccer referee named Josh Crowley, a convicted sex offender from South Carolina who had fled charges there. But Crowley's prior victims were boys, not girls, and he refused to testify. The jury never heard his name. Blair didn't help himself. In a recorded interrogation, he broke down crying, saying, "I don't know if I was there. I just don't know." To prosecutors, that sounded like a confession. When he testified, he admitted to his previous crimes but denied killing Ashley. The jury deliberated for just 27 minutes before finding him guilty of capital murder. 91 minutes later, they sentenced him to death. For Ashley's family and for Plano, it felt like closure. Justice, finally, had been served. Ashley's death led to sweeping change. Less than a year later, Texas Governor George W. Bush signed a series of laws known as Ashley's Laws, championed by Senator Shapiro. They mandated automatic life sentences for repeat child molesters, created child safety zones, banning offenders from schools and parks, and required stronger public alerts when sex offenders moved into a neighborhood. It was hailed as progress, the idea that Ashley's death would protect other children, but the very case that inspired those laws was built on a shaky foundation. From his death row cell, Michael Blair maintained his innocence. For years, he said little, until 1999, when he began corresponding with journalist Jock Hilburn. Over the next several months, Blair sent Hilburn more than 800 pages of letters and documents. In them, he admitted to being a serial child molester who had abused both boys and girls as young as 2. But he was adamant he did not kill Ashley Estell. He described his crimes in chilling, emotionless detail, like he was documenting experiments. He claimed his obsession with Ashley's case came from guilt, not of murder, but of seeing himself reflected in the killer's profile. Hilburn's reporting caught the attention of the Innocence Project, which pushed for new DNA testing. The results changed everything. The hairs in Blair's car? Not Ashley's. The hairs on Ashley's body? Not Blair's. Tissue found under Ashley's fingernails came from 2 unknown men. Every piece of evidence against Michael Blair collapsed. In 2008, prosecutors and defense attorneys agreed to overturn his conviction. After 14 years on death row, Blair was exonerated but not freed. He admitted to multiple child molestations and remained in prison for other crimes. Ashley's family was devastated. The justice they thought they had was gone. Ashley Estell's story became a haunting symbol of justice gone wrong, a child lost, a system that failed twice, and laws built on a wrongful conviction. Her case remains unsolved, her memory echoing through Carpenter Park, a chilling reminder of innocence stolen and justice undone.